group or in the middle. Sometimes the feature section shows up in different places. But if you haven't caught up with it, you can still hang out and listen to this one. But I definitely encourage you to go watch part one so you can have more of a reference point on where I'm going for part two tonight. Um, in part one, I talked, it was more like an introductory, talk. Titan was taking over my live, so I had to stop really early. Usually I go for about an hour, but I had to stop at 39 minutes with him because he was just taking over my whole conversation. But I talked about just some basic things when it comes to pelvic floor physical therapy. I talked, of course, about my experience leading up to basically as of now. On that video, I only got up to talking about the things that happened in my first pregnancy in my body as it relates to the pelvic floor when I was pregnant with Orion. So I'm going to expand a little bit more on that because everything connects up to what I'm experiencing even in present day life. And also where I left off at in particular is talking about how the pelvic floor connects to your root chakra, your sacral chakra, and how those energy centers can be imbalanced and connected in certain ways based on pelvic floor dysfunction. Okay. Um, and I'm going to say this because most of us in America, pelvic floor therapy and pelvic floor health is not something that is talked about enough in this country. So if you're like, dang, I didn't even know it was that important, most of it's not your fault because they never make it a they don't make it a concern enough for it to be in the standard preventative care. The group or in the middle, sometimes the feature section. There's a lot of stuff happening that month as well. Yeah. So I've been doing it ever since. And now that I don't, Titan's not in my belly anymore, my body is starting to get some semblance of a new normalcy. I've learned a lot. I really have. So I'm going to stop there because I want to save the rest for part three. But I want to add this. As I talked about the root chakra, I talked a little bit about the root chakra and the sacral chakra. Um, as it relates to the pelvic floor in a previous video. So I want to get into how this can also affect the sacral chakra as well. So, like I was saying, the pelvic floor to me is a part of the root chakra, a little bit of part of the sacral, but that's definitely to me more root chakra. And the womb is our sacral chakra, right? So when we don't have that stability, that security, when that is compromised, like I said, a lot of things can start breaking down, and your body, before it completely breaks down where you have serious issues, it's going to do everything it possibly can to save you. Okay, your own self, your own version of yourself tries to save you, to let you know, hey, we're doing everything we can to make sure you don't fall the fuck apart. Okay, so um like I said, like when you're carrying children and things are getting compromised as the baby's growing, your back is going to hyperextend itself. The gluteal, all of that stuff, they're naturally overcompensating because they know they have to keep you and baby up and going. So after you have the baby, your womb is recovering. You got a big ass hole from the placenta. Just a lot of stuff going on, and so when you don't have the knowledge to rebuild yourself to really address your root chakra stuff as it relates to your body, then it's automatically going to affect your sacral because your sacral energy sits right on top of the root. And I've shared part of this aspect in my surviving versus thriving talk. When you don't feel safe and when you don't feel stable, you're not going to want to create. You just not. And creating creative energy, creation comes from your sacral chakra. But your sacral chakra can't overcompensate itself for your root chakra. So you're going to have all kinds of issues, right? And so a physical manifestation of how this can happen, I mentioned this twice already, is your vagina will try to fall out. Okay? And that's very extreme, but It happens. It really does happen. You may not know it, but it can literally come out of alignment. And so when you have an organ like that that's coming out of alignment and is where it's not supposed to be near your pelvic floor, then you got a breach. Your energy is being breached because that pelvic floor, those ligaments are not strong enough to hold the womb, to hold the sacral in place. And so, no, you're not going to feel like creating nothing, which is imperative if you want to create a new reality for yourself. You're gonna be hella fucking emotional, okay? Your hormones will be jacked the fuck up. Because if we're thinking about hormones, we're thinking about our sex hormones, ovaries, all of that, that's included. But also your hormones are regulated by your digestive system. So if your womb ain't where it's supposed to be, your your goddamn digestive system ain't where it's supposed to be. So everything just starts getting jumbled up, right? Um, what else? You're not gonna feel sexy. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna feel sensual. It's gonna be very hard for you to stay in your body. Okay. Especially if you're in pain and you're uncomfortable. Um, there may be having a baby and going through something like that in your body, even if you don't, can be traumatic. Yes, birth is a natural thing, but it's fucking traumatic because the body is like, yo, I know we were supposed to do that, but that was a lot. And just imagine as American women, I don't even like to say it. I really want to say indigenous women because we only this version of Americans because we here still. But as indigenous women living this American reality, imagine going through all of that, right? And the only thing you get is a 6-week appointment. Like, and sometimes they don't even check you. Like, they didn't even check me. They didn't internally check me. I actually didn't want them to, because I was like, I'm tired of speculums. I just please. Nothing tore, so leave me the fuck alone, And she knew I felt like that, so and because I gave them a hard time in the hospital with checking me, and they wanted to check me right before Titan came, and I was like, for what? He's coming. Why y'all gonna interrupt shit?